Ivern is a pretty weird jungler. Probably the most unique jungler in the entire game, and since I need to learn him at some point, might as well be now. So for the next 10 hours, I'm gonna try to learn Ivern in 3 steps. First, normal games, second, do some research, and third, play some ranked games. I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn every champion, so one day I can make the greatest Viego video ever. So let's see how this champion went from my most frustrating challenge ever, I need to mentally reset, this champion is a fucking abomination, to one of my favorite champions of all time. Bye-bye! Oh no! So what runes and build should you go on Ivern? Well, your 2 main runes are Glacial Augment and Summon Airy, but I liked Glacial Augment the most. For your items, you pretty much just build like a second support. I think Redemption and Moonstone are the best first 2 items, and then you can follow it up with things like Ardent Censer, Staff of Flowing Water, Dawn Core, or maybe Locket to round out your build. However, there is an AP build with things like Cosmic Drive and Lichbane, but I'll get into that more later in the video. Anyway, on to some normal games. Now, even though this game started off pretty well, my first few assists were more beginner's luck than actual skill. Because like, even in this fight where I got an assist and a kill thanks to Daisy, I clearly did not know how to control Daisy, wasn't using my active items, and didn't place a single bush during this whole fight. Not to mention not fully understanding how squishy I am yet. So unfortunately, even though Darius and I both had Dunkmaster skins, I was the one who got dunked on this game. And I did not take it very well. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I need to mentally reset. This champion is a fucking abomination. But even though I didn't know it at the time, this was just the start of a beautiful friendship. And in my second game, I actually started to have a little bit of fun. Yes! Oh god. I had no idea what I was doing, but I felt like I was doing it pretty well. I mean, look at how long I survived in this fight while also keeping Victor alive. I could have shielded myself. No! Honestly, I felt like I was kind of doing nothing in most of these games, just randomly getting a kill and an assist sometimes. So you know what? I thought my build's the problem. Maybe if I just go AP, I'd do more damage and I'd understand the champion better. Because I've played Ivern for over an hour already. There's no way I'm the problem. Right? No, it's gotta be an issue with my build or Ivern. Oh my god, I do literally nothing, man. Jokes aside though, I really did not like AP Ivern. Sure, I did a little bit more damage, but Ivern is designed to be a low income jungler, so buying a ton of expensive AP items really just wasn't worth it. Like, I could buy Redemption and Moonstone for 4,500 gold, or Cosmic Drive and Lichbane for 6,200 gold. Sure, I did a little less damage with a support build, but it was way cheaper and provided more utility, which is more worth it in my opinion. And as I keep watching the replays of my first few games, I also realized the build probably wasn't the problem. I know it might be shocking to hear, but I was definitely just not playing Ivern very well at this point, especially when it came to my bushes. I planted as many bushes as I could here. Like, I really needed to work on using my W. Sure, we probably would have all died here anyway, but blocking vision and giving my AD carry some extra damage would have been really nice. And even when I did use them, I didn't really block off any vision, so it defeated the entire purpose. So after this game, I decided to just stick with one build, the support build, so I could focus on all the other things about Ivern, because I clearly had a lot to learn. So after these games, I realized Ivern is freaking weird. So I did some research on YouTube, and here's what I found. 1, there are a couple of great ways you can use your W to deny vision. First, you can block off the enemy from one side of an objective and completely block their vision. You can set up dives by blocking off the enemy's escape, and you can spam bushes during fights to protect your carries and give bonus damage. 2, using your Q to move around the jungle makes you way faster, so use it as often as you can. 3, gank whenever you can. Like I said, Ivern isn't a jungler that needs a lot of gold, so you don't need to farm as much as other junglers. 4, use the slow on red buff or your E to set up your Q. Your Q is too important to miss because it's a snare and a dash, so try to set it up as much as you can. And 5, Daisy. Daisy is best in skirmishes where she can't be bursted down, so use her to get picks whenever you can. Anyway, on to some ranked games. Honestly, after learning these tips, Ivern made a lot more sense to me. I mean, just in this fight, I used my bushes a lot more. I was also starting to get a little bit more comfortable using Daisy, shielding her and sending her in on the closest target. When I first started out, I didn't understand just how strong Daisy was or how much utility I had in my kit. Like, look how the enemy Gragas literally can't walk up and try to steal Dragon because I've denied vision completely. something I didn't fully understand when I first started playing Ivern. I also watched some high-level Iverns to just learn how to position, sending Daisy in while I stayed back and shielded everyone. I mean, I wasn't gonna hit Challenger or anything, but you can clearly see how I was getting better in my play, using my red buff slow to land my Q, using my bushes to give us damage, and being more ready to shield my ally. I genuinely watched like 3 hours of Ivern gameplay and took notes in a paper notebook of all the things they were doing. I straight up took this challenge more seriously than college, and I was actually starting to see results on Ivern. I mean, my parents always said, imagine if you just applied yourself in school. You'd be so successful. And honestly, they might have been onto something. Unfortunately for them, I put all that try-hard energy into learning Ivern. But despite improving quite a bit, I still got outplayed a lot and found myself walking up too far sometimes. Or sometimes I would accidentally press my Q 2 times and dive into the enemy team, which led to some unintentional deaths. I pressed the wrong button. I pressed Q after I landed my Q. Honestly, this is a mistake I made an embarrassing amount of times. You see, one of the issues was I knew what to do, my muscles just weren't used to doing it yet. Like, controlling Daisy and myself was just not something I was used to. I was like a superhero trying to control my powers. I knew what I wanted to do, but sometimes I would just accidentally blow up a building or something. And even though I knew what I was doing was wrong sometimes, I wasn't always sure what it was. But despite the ups and downs, I could definitely feel Ivern start to grow on me. From a small little sapling into a weird looking sentient tree that is high 24/7. All it took was for me to do hours of research and completely change my playstyle. But even after everything I was learning, there were always some games where it just didn't really matter what I did. Yeah, sometimes all I gotta do is walk up at the end of a fight, drop a shield, get some free assist and let my team carry. I got an assist by shielding her. Yeah, sometimes I just kind of show up and say, hello, I'm helping, and then walk away. But just like I do with every stupid challenge, as soon as I started playing well, I started to get a little bit more confident. Maybe a little too confident. Taking fights I probably shouldn't have, and taking kills I definitely shouldn't have. And somehow, even with all my golden kills, I couldn't carry the game. That's when I realized one of Ivern's voice lines in my next game.
Take all the gold. I really don't need it.
It was at that moment I had like a brain blast and everything just became clear to me. I mean, who knows how to play Ivern better than Ivern himself? He doesn't need gold and all he wants to do is make some friends. With that revelation, I honestly didn't mind losing close fights as much, and I mean, sure, it was still a little frustrating, but I knew if I just kept my cool and played around my strong teammates, I would still be able to win. And I mean, I've talked a lot in the past about how I just don't like being the carry. It's why I don't like AD carry and other hyper carry champions. But it was so refreshing knowing that as long as I'm just a good teammate, Ivern always has a chance to win. Honestly, even though I got frustrated early on in this challenge, it was so easy to not get tilted with Ivern once I knew what I was doing. We're the best! She was low enough. I mean, sure, there were games where I'd get ahead early and still lose, mostly because it is difficult to carry with Ivern, but that's okay. Some games, the enemy Zeri's just gonna get a triple kill 2v3 without losing any HP, and there's nothing I can do about it. You know what? Maybe you just don't agree with this mindset, but for most of my life, I have been super hard on myself about a lot of things. And honestly, streaming and making videos for hundreds of thousands of people to just watch me make mistakes kind of makes the problem worse. But having a champion like Ivern, who I can just make mistakes with and not get tilted, was such a relief. I just got to relax and not feel pressured to carry the game. Which brings me to my last 2 hours where I played some of the best League of Legends I've ever played. Without the stress that I usually have during these challenges, I was able to play the game the way I wanted to play, not trying to carry the game or worry too much about embarrassing deaths. It's like I went ultra instinct and everything was just coming natural to me. As soon as I stopped overthinking the fight, I started fighting so much better. It's kind of similar to when I hit Diamond for the first time with my one-trick Wukong. Since I was so comfortable, I was able to overcome my ranked anxiety and hit a rank I'd wanted to for years. And I really want to continue this mindset for other challenges, because for those of you who watch my streams, you know I can be pretty hard on myself sometimes. And believe it or not, when I'm not constantly stressed, I have a lot of fun playing League of Legends. Bye-bye! Oh no! Ah! which leads to me winning more games. But it also helps to just get better at the champion, getting more comfortable with my abilities, landing my Q more, and most importantly, starting to use my bushes in fights and around objectives. I mean, watch how I use these bushes to block off Seraphine's vision, and then pull off a dive way better than at the start of the challenge. And my positioning and daisy control were also clearly better. No more frontlining and randomly dying for me. But even with these improvements, not every fight was gonna be a win. But you know what? I was really proud of all the stuff I had learned on Ivern. I mean, watching Ivern go from one of the most frustrating challenges I've ever done to probably one of my favorite champions in League of Legends was a wild experience. Watching myself actually improve at Ivern with every game as I understood his playstyle more and more was super rewarding. Now, am I gonna become an Ivern one trick? Fuck no. I still have 100 champions to play before I make the greatest Viego video ever. But I can say if I have an hour to kill and I just wanna play a game of League, Ivern will definitely be at the top of my list of champions to play, as long as I get jungle. Overall, if you're looking for a chill champion in the jungle, especially if you're auto-filled and don't trust yourself to carry, Ivern's a great pick. Sure, he's a little weird, but I'm sure that if you spend a few hours to actually learn his playstyle, you'll love him just as much as I did. And lastly, really listen to some of his voice lines. They are kind of special.
Live each day as if it's your first.